Hello, 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 hello. This is Extreme Orange. Welcome to the Extreme Exchange. Today I'm joined with my good friends from primary school, Brendan. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the second season of the Extreme Exchange. I hope you're as excited as I am. Well, this evening I have Matthew and Minnie on the show. Say hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, so both guests have been here before, but Minnie's face may not be as familiar because, well, the episode that she starred in did not air in the end. So Minnie and I have worked together before in a project to help children in Vietnam, and she's a multi-talented person who has a knack for starting small businesses such as the famous
Stuttering? No.
starting
Sorry.
small businesses such as the famous Mini Bakes and the past M Square. So do support her at Mini Bakes on Instagram. Now, Matthew is also another multi-talented friend of mine who has skills that range from basketball to softball and to computer science and coding, bro.
Oh shit!
Coding.
And also, you forgot where I graduated from, bro.
From Harvard itself.
Bro, from Harvard.
The School of Harvard. Yeah, man. So you know who you're dealing with in this video. So on the side, he runs a food account, and you can go check it out at Fatthew Escapades. That is
we're redoing this right now.
FATTHEW Escapades. So thank you both so much for making the time to be here.
It's our pleasure.
All right. So I want to talk about how people are currently doing their part in helping social causes, for example. I guess the main fields that people try and get into, like you see people posting on Instagram, right? It's care for the environment, care for people who are in bad situations at the current time, like the Israel-Palestine war, for example. And then there are the people caring for women's rights, and then there are the people caring for rights for the oppressed races, and then there are the people caring for the LGBT community, right? So how do you think the work is carried out? So I would say, like, how do you think people are trying to help right now? Okay, I realize it's quite broad, but let's pick one. How do you think people are trying to help with racism right now?
Posting on social media.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely one of the larger ways that, and I guess people of our age tend to help out. The question that I have is it helpful? Do you think it's helpful? Posting this stuff.
Posting.
Yeah, like if I sit down, take my phone, and I see a piece of news on Instagram, and then I put it on my story, and I say, guys, look at this. You know, this is happening in Singapore, for example, right? How helpful do you think it is?
I think it's a lot about collective effort. It's not about the individual person posting. It's about like the fact that large groups of people post. And I mean, while you could argue that, you know, like even changing one person's mind on a matter as important as like racism or like say like climate change, might have like a big impact. But I think like the kind of impact that social media, like the biggest kind of impact I feel that social media gives is like calling attention to problems and like sort of forcing people in higher amounts of authority, people in power to make the change that they want. So yeah, I think that's mainly it. So it's less about like at least for me, I think it's less about the individual change or like the individual effort, but more of like what can be accomplished when many people do things together, which is what social media is known for.
I think likewise there are like two fronts, right, to change. There's igniting the change, and then there's also the effecting the change. So on igniting the change, social media is very beneficial because of its connectivity, right? You are able to see the views and opinions of all these strangers around the world that you wouldn't be able to connect with without social media. And so the fact that all these people are posting the same thing, posting the same messages, if let's say you are a racist, it will get you to think if I wouldn't say racist if let's say you never thought about it before, it will get you to start thinking and it will ignite a change, this possibility for change. But in terms of the front of effecting change, it's definitely not as effective as a more personal approach, like education, more like talking to a friend. Hey, racism's bad. I'm saying stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
Her mind is instantly changed.
Right. So you could say that that social media, as in talking about social issues on social media, is the main function of it is to raise awareness, right? I mean, everybody talks about raising awareness, making sure that everybody knows that such a problem exists, right? But my sense is that maybe it also it's like a double-edged sword, because when you post, like when you try and raise awareness on your own platform, right, it kind of lets you stop there. You post about it, and that's considered doing your part.
Armchair activism.
Wait, say that again.
Armchair activism.
Armchair activism. Oh, as in just like being a keyboard warrior. Right. Yeah, exactly. So I guess because it's so easy, right, it kind of promotes this attitude of, let me just do my part by posting it on my social media page, and that's it, and that's all I ever do, right? It kind of reduces the tendency to go out and actually do something that is like the effective portion that you mentioned about. Do you agree? I mean, is that?
I don't agree.
All right.
Because I feel you have to look at the alternative. So if let's say social media didn't really exist as a tool for social causes, then like this demographic of people, this group of people who are the kinds to just post and not do anything about it. Without social media, it's not like they would have become activists. They would just not have done anything. So I feel like I'm not saying that what they're doing is enough. I'm just saying that it is more than what they would have done if social media wasn't a thing.
I think from just raising awareness to also encouraging more action. Because I've seen recently in the past year there are a lot of campaigns that are like, oh, don't just share this, and then like you should talk to a friend or something like that. And then and also apart from that, they also include like links for you to get links for you to really take action, maybe donate or stuff like that. And so it's better. It's definitely better than nothing.
Right. Okay. Do you think that the raising awareness part also has, because I guess we kind of said that it's the igniting part, right? But I see that when there is strong enough of a collective voice on social media, there tends to be an ability to move the higher organizations, like just like how going out to the street to riot is and protest is a method to get the government to notice. You can also do things like start what's the name of the Paul thing? Is it a
change.org?
Something, change.org, something like that. So they petition, to sign the petition, and then if you have enough people who sign the petition, you can submit it and say, look, this is how many people actually want to change this thing. Yeah, and then sometimes things do get done that way. So I guess that is one of the powers that social media has. So now I want to think about some of the negative, aspects of that, because there is definitely an instance where social media and trying to help people on social media devolves into something that is more corrupt and unstable, right? And I mean, you see people fighting about things online, and this is wrong and that's wrong and you're wrong, I'm correct, and you're just not being understanding and things like that. So I don't know, where does it go wrong? It seems like it's like social media is this such a good thing, right? But clearly there are places where issues arise. So where do you think we've gone wrong? Where do you think is the root, I guess, of the problem?
I think, like as you said earlier, it's a double-edged sword, right? So it's not like social media is the reason why all these things are happening. Social media is an enabler of it. Like it's an enabler of connectivity, right?
Like an amplifier, right?
An amplifier. And so it amplifies the good things, but it also amplifies all the conflict. Right. When there's sufficient room for argument for two sides of an argument, right? Then the conflict, there'll always be a conflict, like in, maybe in politics, or like a lot of things concerning liberals versus conservatives. There's a lot of conflict that is amplified by social media, religion also, race also.
Right, because things are never so black and white, right? Like the examples that we give just now about, let's say, raising awareness, right? It's not deep enough in the sense that it doesn't take into account the fact that most social issues are very contentious and both sides have sufficient grounding to stand on. So you wouldn't, it's very rare to find a cause that everybody backs, and because of that, you will inevitably have two sides that are trying to, I guess, explain their way out of what the right course of action is. Yeah, so it seems to me like there is no good way to resolve this kind of conflict online, because just as much as the other person has a voice, I also have a voice, and that voice is quite equal on, I guess, online, right? Because who knows who I am, who knows who you are, and because both of us don't have any credentials to our name, that means that both our opinions are equally valid, and then trouble ensues lah. So
I think we have to look at like how social causes were fought for in the past before social media, comparing it to now. So I think it's not true to say that like these kind of conflicts that we see today didn't exist in the past.
Right.
It's just that because of social media, you see it a lot more often. A lot more people are involved in the arguments, and but I feel like the kind of arguments and the intensity that it goes to is not something new. It's just more in your face. Like you just know more about it. Because in the past, if two people have a disagreement, it's between them. I mean, what are they gonna do? Post in the newspaper about it? Like it's only the people who are arguing, and maybe they're like close relatives or like close friends who know about this conflict. But now conflicts are posted into public spaces which people can look at. So I don't think it's new to have like this kind of intense disagreements.
Right.
I don't think that you like social media is to blame, or like really anything is to blame for the arguments existing. It's just that they are more public now. I think that's really the only difference.
Yeah, I think that's actually a really good point. Is that maybe it's not so it's not social media's fault, right? And it might actually be a good thing that all these things are trashed out online, because maybe last time when two groups of people have disagreements, they come at each other in alleyways with like guns and fists,
that's how it was done last time back in the day.
So I guess when we look at it now, right, we see people are flaming each other online and calling each other names, and it's such a bad thing. But if you think about it, last time people actually got hurt. I mean apart from the fact that your feelings could be hurt across the screen, like instead of people getting into actual fist fights, now it's just keyboard fights. And
that was both.
It's both.
I mean, people still go on riot. You know what I mean?
People still go on fight. Yeah, but I guess the vast majority of people who would have gone out to fight are now indoors typing, and so maybe you could say that it's all contained in the online space, and because of that, it's not such a bad thing. Yeah, and one other thing was that I've been trying to reconsider whether all the conflict online is such a bad thing. Because I mean, you could argue that nobody really gets convinced of an opinion online, right? But I believe that there is no difference whether it's how do I say that a person is just as likely not to be convinced if you speak to them in real life. They have to hear the right argument before they will click. Do you think so? Matt, you seem to disagree.
Like, just personally, I definitely would be more convinced if someone was talking to me like personally, because like in real life, because like over a phone, right, you just read, then you're like, oh, these are just views, opinions that I don't necessarily agree. But if someone's talking to you, right, if let's say the guy's a nice guy, or like, I mean, even if he's not, you can see more of his like humanity.
Right.
You see, an actual human being that has the same similar rational thoughts as I do is believing this, believes this so strongly. So maybe I would give this more of a shot.
You take it more seriously.
Yeah, it's just like evangelism, right? If you read like people's comments versus someone actually going up to you and telling you the same thing, which one is like more convincing? Which one would lead you to take it into further consideration? Definitely, I mean, to me, it's the person that talks to you in real life.
Actually, for me, I disagree.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think it's the online or offline that matters. I get what he means. I think it's just that, I mean, if someone approached you with the same sincerity that they do, if a friend approaches you, it doesn't matter. The medium doesn't matter. It's the manner of in which you try to approach or like convince people. And personally, I just prefer being approached online because it's safer. Like if someone who disagrees with me met me, like tried to convince me physically, like, at least I'll be worried for my safety. Like those people at the MRT who like try to like they say, oh, do you have time to fill a survey? And I'm like, yes. Then suddenly it becomes like, oh, do you believe in God the Mother? And I'm just like, no, thank you.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's, at least for me, I think online is a more welcoming platform because it's a lot safer. And I think it's just the manner with which you approach people, which affects how receptive you are, not the medium.
I don't know. I think both are equally valid views to hold. It's just, we can talk a lot about this, but I should stress that the main reason I'm going at this is to find out what exactly we should be doing, right? So I think the both of you, the underlying, you guys agreed on the fact that if you were approached nicely, then you'd be more likely to be convinced, right? So I think the thing we can all take away is that maybe when we're trying to convince somebody online, despite the fact that you don't see the actual person in front of you, it's still important to write your messages out with care and as if you were actually talking to a person, right? And because I mean, you're wasting your finger energy if you like just type a nasty comment or like with a sarcastic remark like, oh yeah, you don't even understand anything, why am I even bothering to talk to you if you knew, like that kind of thing, so I think for one, we greatly underestimate the power of being caring online.
Being nice.
Being nice online, right? It kind of seems like if you're nice online, you're just weak, or you're just like your point doesn't get across, and you have to like literally scream at them in all caps and bold before like something will get through. But yeah, I think that's pretty.
I think if I can add, I feel like when you're trying to think of like what tone you want to take when you're trying to convince someone who you disagree with, I think it's quite natural to know that speaking kindly is much better at convincing people. But I think the problem these days is why people get so aggressive, because somewhere along the line, a lot of people don't bother convincing other people, trying to like convince them. Instead, they're just trying to show that they're right. It's no longer a, hey, let me show you my opinion. It's, hey, let me show you why you are wrong. I am right. So it matters less that the end outcome of like whether they change their view or not. I think people, some more aggressive people these days, are just more concerned of other people supporting them and other people believing that they are right and whoever they disagree with is wrong, which isn't really the right mentality you should be taking if you actually want to change people or like fight for a social cause. IMO.
Right. And I guess like one thing to bear in mind is that, it's difficult to assume that you're wrong, or assume that you may not have it right. It's those are two different things, by the way. So like when you, because in social issues, right, it's often like super gray, like, both the reason why there's the reason why there are two sides is because there are equal or close to equal amounts of evidence to support both. And so that means that if you think that one view is definitely right, there's definitely something wrong with you. So like, I guess the mindset that you should be having or going into these kind of conversations is that, things are complicated. These are very complicated issues, and it's not as simple as, I'm right and you're wrong. And here's why I'm right. Yeah. So yeah, and just to add something, right? I think it's the conversation between the two sides is something that is extremely important. As in the continual mixing of ideas and explaining myself out to both sides, right? That's the thing that gets us the right answer. It's like if you're trying to, I just got a cool picture in my head. If blue and red, right, are both trying to figure out what the right answer is, and the answer is usually purple, right? Neither side will get anywhere unless they take in a bit of the other.
Reaction.
Yeah.
Oh!
Thanks.
Red and blue is. Guys, my man,
you guys
Team Orange is a genius.
They slap that on the on an Instagram post, man, with my face next to it. Okay, I'm kidding. But yeah.
Thank you for watching today's episode on Extreme Exchange. If you'd like to contact any of the guests today, either me or Min-Yi, links will be in the description. And Min-Yi, if you all did not know, is going to be running for the general elections in the year 2024. 2034. And she would much appreciate your support and your votes if you think that she's a suitable candidate to be governing your country.
If you know that she's a suitable candidate.
Yeah, if you know that, then put the X on Min-Yi Wong.
All right, and that's a solid outro. I'll see you guys in the next episode of the Extreme Exchange. Bye-bye.